Can you really get a free domain name with no catches? These days, it seems like everything's a subscription service, and domains are no different. You go to GoDaddy to register a domain, and you have to pay how much per year for a .com? In this video, I'm going to explore ways to get a custom domain name for free, or at least for as little as possible. Now, I have to be honest, getting a free domain name isn't as easy as it used to be. There was a domain registrar called FreeDNS where you could register free.tk and .ml domains, but after a lawsuit from Meta regarding abuse concerns, FreeDNS is no longer accepting new registrations. So if you want a free domain name, the best option currently is to register a subdomain. This is where you have a custom URL on a shared domain. So instead of yourdomain.com, you have yourname.shareddomain.com. These are fine if you just need a personal site, an event page, or something temporary that doesn't need to look professional, but it's not the best look from a branding perspective. You may have seen subdomains in the free version of some website builders, like a website being hosted on sitename.wix.com. That's a subdomain of wix.com. If you're using a website builder or link in bio app, they may offer a free subdomain on their domain, but if you want to register your own, check out FreeDNS. FreeDNS has a collection of over 29,000 user-contributed domain names you can choose from to register a subdomain. The founder of FreeDNS has even contributed some of his own personal domain names to the collection, with chickenkiller.com being the oldest available domain on the platform. If you want to claim a subdomain, just register a free account, then you can make a subdomain on any of the publicly available domains. There are some decent generic options like .us.to, .uk.to, and .my.to. This means you could register something like krailer.us.to and host your website on it for free. You can also click that subscribe button for free. Subscribing and clicking the bell ensures that you never miss one of my new videos. Now, what if you want an entire domain to yourself? Is it possible to get something like krailer.com for free? Unfortunately, it's impossible to get a free domain name in perpetuity. The way the domain name system is designed, there's hard costs associated with each domain name that exists, so no company is going to take a loss indefinitely out of the kindness of their heart. You can usually get a free domain name for the first year if you purchase an annual subscription from a website builder like Wix or Squarespace, or a web host like DreamHost or Hostinger. But you'll have to pay yearly to renew your domain after the first year, and these services that offer free domains for the first year commonly charge much higher renewal rates than a dedicated domain registrar like Porkbun or Dynadot. It is possible to transfer your domain name to a cheaper registrar before it's time to renew for the first year, or you could choose to renew it at your website platform of choice if you don't mind spending a bit more for the convenience of having everything in one place. Now, with the first solution using FreeDNS, it is possible to get a free domain name indefinitely if you don't mind the fact that it's a subdomain. But even if you're willing to accept this compromise, it may not be the best idea. When you register a subdomain, you're essentially creating a DNS record on someone else's domain. You don't control the domain name itself. In the context of krailer.us.to, us.to is the domain name. I don't own us.to, and I have no control over what happens to it. It's been a part of FreeDNS since 2004, so it's clear that the owner of this domain is committed to the idea of offering it as a resource to others to host their website. But at the end of the day, nothing is stopping this owner from deciding not to renew it. And if one day they decide to call it quits and stop renewing it, everyone's subdomain hosted on that domain name will stop functioning. There's also the fact that domain names can be suspended if abuse is detected and not handled properly. With hundreds of thousands of subdomains hosted on us.to alone, there's a high likelihood that some of the subdomains are malicious, pointing to phishing pages or inappropriate content. When these pages get reported to the domain owner, the content has to be removed in a timely manner or the domain could get suspended. In fact, I made the mistake of using a free subdomain for my link in bio page that ended up getting shut down. I was using Koji for my link in bio page, and I used the free koji.to link they provided. Koji was unexpectedly acquired by Linktree and shut down 3 months later, and my Koji URL was deactivated when that happened. I had business cards printed with a QR code that led to my Koji URL, and since that was now invalid, I had to throw away hundreds of cards and get new ones printed with a new QR code. If you're going to register a subdomain, I'd make sure it's for a project where uptime and reliability aren't important, and it wouldn't be the end of the world if you ever had to change your subdomain. FreeDNS is perfect for developers who just need a temporary URL for testing purposes or for personal projects where uptime isn't mission critical. If you want a domain for your brand and you're going to link to your domain from social platforms and print materials, I would strongly recommend investing a few dollars a year in a regular domain name. Registering a domain doesn't have to be expensive. If you use a registrar like Porkbun or Dynadot, you can get domains at a very reasonable price. This video is sponsored by .link, and you can get a .link domain at Porkbun for less than $8 a year. And yes, that's the renewal price. This is not some sort of first year promo. It's less than $8 a year to renew. By investing in a domain, you're ensuring that you control the domain entirely. You can respond directly to any abuse complaints, you're in control of the renewal, and there's protection measures in place to prevent your domain from being taken from you. I chose Krailer.link as my new custom domain for my link in bio page, and the QR codes on my business card point to Krailer.link. So that way, if I ever change platforms in the future, I just point Krailer.link to the new platform, and I'm not going to have to get new business cards. A TLD like .link is a great choice for longevity as well. Two-letter TLDs like .io, .ai, and .co have taken off in recent years, but there are extra risks with these TLDs specifically that most people don't realize. See, all two-letter TLDs are actually country code TLDs. You may have seen country-specific TLDs like .us, .ca, and .de, but you may not have realized that any two-letter domain extension represents a country. This includes .ai, .io, .co, and .me. The reason this can be problematic is because the country that represents a TLD has direct control over who can and can't have a domain on their platform. If they decide they don't like a certain business, they could just pull that domain, and you can't do anything about it. Some country TLDs require you to have a physical address in that country to register, and in the case of .eu domains, businesses that were located in the UK suddenly lost access to their .eu domain when the UK left the EU. If you stay away from country code TLDs and use a generic TLD like .link or .com, those are regulated by ICANN. ICANN is a nonprofit organization that oversees generic TLDs, and there are very specific regulations that prevent discrimination and ensure that you are in control of your domain as long as you renew it. The reason I registered Krailer.link after Koji shut down was that I wanted to take control of my digital identity, and I regretted trusting Koji to handle my link in bio URL. I didn't think I'd see them shut down so soon, and since my page was hosted on their URL, I had no control over the situation. So if you absolutely need a free domain, you can register a subdomain on FreeDNS. But if you're serious about building your brand and investing in your online identity, I would highly recommend spending a few dollars a year on a domain name. If you're already paying for a website builder or web hosting and they're offering a free domain for the first year, you can take it and always have the option of transferring it to a cheaper registrar before it's time to renew. But regardless of where you buy a domain, .link is one of my favorite TLDs. They've partnered with many platforms like link in bio apps and URL shorteners to make registering and connecting your .link domain as easy as possible. And I'm not just saying this because they're a sponsor. I registered my .link domain before I even knew the people over at .link, and when they heard about my story, they were super enthusiastic about supporting the channel. Not to mention, the renewal price of a .link domain is cheaper than a .com. I'll have a page with some of the top .link partners below. I want to thank .link for sponsoring today's video, and if you're curious about the best place to buy a domain name, you can check out my comparison video here.